Um, so hi, everybody. My name's Derek Hoffman. Some of you might know my wife, Becca. She trains here. I used to refer to Saturdays here affectionately as come and embarrass your husband Saturdays. The first time I did a burn boot camp workout, they put me, they do the groups, and the three women that they put me with were all trying out for, I think, the Avengers the next day, because they were just these meta humans, and anyway, nothing but respect for what you guys do here. Just a little bit about us. I have been into fitness for probably 30, 40 years at this point, ever since I was a little kid. And when Becca and I started dating, I want to tell you there was nothing I could do that got her motivated to do any kind of fitness. She just didn't like it. And Burn Boot Camp, she will get up at 4:30 in the morning and be here to be with this core of people that she really enjoys this. So I love the concept. It's done a lot for our family, and we're just grateful to be here today. So everybody, you're really excited, I know, to have a 45-year-old white guy with a receding hairline mansplain menopause to you today, right? So I'm gonna try and do that as light as possible. A little bit about me. I've run Ignite Performance and Health, so we're a concierge strength training and nutrition coaching facility that does a medical clinic in our programs, right? So we do GLP-1, we do HRT, TRT, peptide sciences, all that stuff. Before that, I worked for the Department of Defense and the intelligence community for about 25 years. And then now I sell drugs as illegally as possible for a living. So today's agenda, we're going to talk about GLP. I'm going to start with GLP 101. I'm going to give you guys a bunch of information about it. Basically, everything that's up here today, and I'm sorry, I know that's a little hard to see. Don't worry, I want you to listen to me, not read my slides behind me anyway, so this will work out for the best. We're going to talk about GLP-1s, we're going to talk about hormone therapy, and really, I just want to give you some information today that if you were my father, my brother, my mother, my sister, this is what I would want you to know before you started doing these things. Okay, so we'll jump right into the GLP-1. So there's this big giant definition of what a GLP-1, glucagon-like peptide receptor agonist, but here's what it means. In real life, it does three things, okay? It's going to slow your digestion and your gastric emptying, which it makes you stay fuller longer, but the dark side of that is that every once in a while you have some stomach issues and you're like, what happened? I didn't even eat anything badly, or you know what I mean? Usually when your stomach has some sort of issue, you know what you did, right? You made a bad decision, generally with food. With gastric emptying, that can just randomly happen. That's what that means, okay? It does change your insulin resistance, but then the main thing it does is it suppresses the hormone in your brain that triggers that hunger response, that physical distress of when we get hungry, okay? Which is a big deal. You may not think of it as a big deal, but I want to pose this question. How hard is food supposed to be for us to get? Anybody? Yeah, really hard. We're supposed to have to like hunt and gather for that, right? So that hunger response that's in our body, like that feeling, it's more than just being hungry. Okay, it's very emotional. It's very motivational in a way, right? Like if you've been super, super hungry, and we've all been there, right? We missed a meal, something happened, we had to go pick up the kids, and then there was another thing, and before you know it, it's 3 o'clock and you never even had breakfast. And then we find ourselves in that overstimulated kind of hunger thing, where it's not quite fight or flight, but it's very similar in that, your cortisol levels rise, all your emotions and your thoughts start bypassing your frontal lobe. It impacts your limbic system, right? Like all of a sudden you're on heightened alert. And the reason that feeling is so high like it is because getting food is supposed to be hard. That feeling is supposed to it's supposed to be so motivating that we climb out the cave, brave the tigers, and go find something to eat, right? However, in today's society of, Panda Express and Chick-fil-A and Schnucks and Deerbergs, we've probably never gone really hungry more than a day in our lives. Most of us here, right? Thank God. I would pose to you that we're actually supposed to be biologically a little hungry most of the time, because you should be, when you're hungry, you should be thinking, is it worth it? Right? Like it's supposed to be a dilemma, and there's supposed to be a kind of a rubric that you need to go through in your brain. But because of that, what's happened is we have now used food for all of these different things in our world, right? Like we're happy, food. We're sad, food. We're stressed, food. We don't know what to do, food. We're bored, food, right? But what I want to ask you is, when you start taking these things and you then stop getting hungry, what signals are we then sending to our brain? Okay, so we're sending a couple of really clear signals to our brain. So if you stop eating, because this is going to suppress that hunger drive in you, so you're just not going to eat as much. And it's going to do more than that, right? It's actually going to turn off all these emotional ties that come with food and food noise. It's just not going to be there. And it's really odd to explain. It's one of those, like, you got to do it to know it kind of a thing, but it's really powerful. And what happens for most people is they just stop eating, right? Now, how many people have seen someone that took one of these things and then just stopped eating, right? And then what did they look like? What happened to them? They didn't change anything else. They didn't exercise. They didn't have a nutrition plan. They lose their muscle mass, right? Because metabolically, muscle mass is much more expensive for your body to maintain. So what happens is we go in this caloric deficit for an extended period of time, and what we're telling our brain is, hey, listen, brain, we're not going to get the same amount of food. We're not going to be able to maintain this body mass that we've got going, right? So what are we going to do? And your brain goes, well, we're going to get rid of the stuff that we definitely don't need first. And if you're not sending a signal to your brain concurrently that says, hey, this muscle mass stuff that I have, not only do we need to keep it, I actually need more of it, then your body's just going to burn that right off. And muscle burns calories while at rest. It essentially is your metabolism, so to speak, right? The more muscle mass we have, the more calories we need to maintain that mass. That's why these giant bodybuilders need like 5,000 and 6,000 calories a day. So if you burn off your muscle mass and it reduces your metabolism and you're just not eating, right? So you stop eating and you are going to lose some weight. You're going to hop on that scale every morning, right? And you're losing muscle, but you're also losing some fat. But bottom line is that scale's going down, okay? And you're going, I'm doing great. So what happens is that eventually your muscle mass depletes and your body mass depletes to a point where your basal metabolic rate, or how many calories you need every day to maintain your mass, that level and the amount that you're still eating, because you are still going to eat, you're going to have this biological imperative come through, but those two levels meet, right? So you stop losing weight. You get on the scale and you go, oh, well, weight loss isn't working anymore. So then you go back to your weight loss clinic. Don't be distracted yet. I'm going to explain what that is. And you say, I'm not losing weight. This isn't working anymore. What do I do? And they go, no problem. We have these dosage instructions from the FDA that tell me what to do in this situation. So this is an actual, I know it's hard to see on this little projector that we brought, but the bottom line here is, okay, this is a dosage guide. If you're a provider, a doctor, a med spa, whomever, and someone comes to you and wants this drug and you reach out and you buy this drug, this is the instruction sheet they give you as a provider on how to titrate the prescription for this drug, okay? So up here, this right here, this is your semaglutide, okay? This is your Ozempic, your Wegovy. Down here, this is tirzepatide. That is your Mounjaro or your Zepbound. If you want to know the difference between the two, this one, remember I said it suppresses that hormone in your brain that triggers the hunger response? Semaglutide is a single agonist. Tirzepatide is a dual agonist. And there's a third one coming out next year by your friends at Eli Lilly called retatrutide that is a triple agonist. Okay, so for the math in public sense, because there's too many boxes up here for me to keep track of, we're going to go with tirzepatide. This is the one that we use the most. And it says right here, weeks 1 through 4, you're going to use 2.5 milligrams a week. Weeks 5 through 8, we're going to jump up to 5 milligrams. And then we're going to titrate up 2.5 milligrams every 4 weeks until we get to about 15 milligrams, and that's the maximum recommended dosage. Okay? Anybody know somebody that's taking 15 milligrams a week of this stuff? No? Don't want to admit it? Okay. I know tons of them that have. Now, the reason that they've made this guide this way is because this was trialed in the FDA with patients that are 350, 450 pounds, right? People that have so much adipose tissue, visceral fat, that if we don't get a couple 100 pounds of that stuff off of them, and by the way, when I say visceral fat, I'm talking about, this is not the belly fat, I'm talking about the fat inside of you, right? You ever see people that get so big, it looks like they're getting big from the inside out, right? You know what I mean? Like you see these guys and all of a sudden they don't have a lot of muscle, but they're just expanding like this. That's visceral fat, that's adipose tissue. That's the stuff that crushes your organs and kills you, right? That's all the bad things in life that come with obesity right there. So if we don't get those off, if we don't cut a couple 100 pounds off, they're going to die anyway. So we put them on this starvation diet, right? Now remember also, when we're trialing a drug, we're measuring cause and effect, right? So we don't want to introduce too many variables like exercise, diet, things like that. We just want to know, I give you drug X, Y impact happens. That's what this is. Okay, so that whole cycle that I just explained about we stop eating, we lose our muscle mass, the basal metabolic rate meets the amount that I'm still eating, it stops happening, I go back to my weight loss clinic and they say, no problem, we're just going to move you to the next level, right? So then what happens is You suppress that hunger molecule even more, you eat even less, and you, again, go back on that same path of losing weight, but you're also losing muscle, you're losing metabolism, and you're exacerbating the problem. Now, ladies in the room, what happens if we lose a bunch of muscle mass over 40? Osteoporosis, right? Number one cause of, and then, okay, osteoporosis means weakening of bone density, right? Which means you're more frail. Does anybody know what the number one cause of death for the elderly in America is? Falls. Falls. So we take away our bone density. You see elderly people, you can tell when someone's getting closer to the end of their life because they move like they're frail. They do that kind of frail move, right? Like everything seems like it's going to be really hard. And they're very, very careful about falling down or doing anything that might hurt themselves. Well, here is your osteoporosis diet, ladies and gentlemen, right? Now, why would they do this? Well, it's one of two reasons. If you're getting this paid for through your insurance, usually it's because you're going to some primary care physician or someone who doesn't actually understand what's happening with this medicine. They're just reading the label instructions. It's like they're giving you a Z-pack. Day 1, take 3 pills. Day 2, take 4 pills. Day 5, that's all they're doing. They don't know any better. Or they're getting a cash price for it, and they've figured out that the more pharma they sell you, the more profit margin they get. Or both. Could be both. So why do I bring this weird chart up? This 5 milligram level, this second level, me personally, I've never taken a patient past 5 milligrams a week. If you're telling me that you need more than 5 milligrams a week of this medication, and that you're still feeling the food and hunger distress that's really causing you these problems all day long, we need to look at your nutrition plan. You need a nutrition coach. I would much rather steer you towards a nutrition coach than I would have you pay me more money for pharmacology, for pharmaceuticals. Okay? Anything beyond this, I feel, unless you have some very unique physiology, which I have not seen yet. And then, by the way, every client I do have that says, I'm going to do it anyway, and they go up to that 7.5, that's when they start feeling those. You ever hear people say, oh, you're nauseous all the time, and it's really awful, and like, that's when you start to feel those symptoms. Because that gastric emptying and that the digestive slowing process starts to wreak havoc on your system over about this amount. Okay. So, pop quiz. You're taking 5 milligrams a week of tirzepatide, but you're still experiencing hunger and food distress. We just talked about this. This is a really easy test. All my quizzes are very simple, I promise. Okay, so what should you do? I lost a slide. Should you eat more, but exercise more to offset the calories that you ate, right? Should you increase your dosage and just keep starving yourself? Or should you try and figure out what's going on in your nutrition plan that's causing these hunger problems? Right, it's C. Yeah, we all know it. It's C. So some other questions. Will my hair really fall out from using a GLP-1? Anyone heard this one? No? So I've heard some yeses and nos. Like I got an absolutely, and then I got a skeptical no. When you hear people talk about, I took Ozempic and my hair fell off, or my hair broke off. No, you starved yourself so you were malnourished like a refugee, and then you had so little nutrients in your body that your hair started to break off. That sucks. And you probably trusted somebody that was telling you to take these things while you did that to yourself. Yeah, there's my A, B, and C. Okay, gonna switch. Oh, wait, really quick. I'm gonna jump out here. I wanna show you guys 2 pictures, and I wanna talk about what a GLP-1 can really do. Okay, you can't really see it. That's a bummer. So this is my wife, Becca, and she doesn't like this picture, but she gave it to me and she told me I could use it. And it's really hard to see up here, but there's a few things going on. Number one, you can't see it, but the name of the picture that she's got is Hawaii chocolate, and I can't figure out why. So if anybody sees this and understands why Hawaii... You're eating chocolate in Hawaii? Oh, that makes sense. So she didn't like this picture. And I don't know what made that picture. I think it's because it showed her arms in a way that she felt. And I know you ladies are sensitive about your arms, and you can't see this, but this was on the burn. Hold on, maybe if I put my head in here. No, it's not going to work. All right, so she got featured on the Burn Social one time, and I think she saw the contrast of like, these were my arms when we were in Hawaii, and she's like, and these are my arms now. And the reason we like to show this picture is because Becca lost all that weight, but she built muscle at the same time, right? So GLP-1s can be really powerful tools in helping you, but strength training and nutrition are critical. And those are two things that she got here, right? All right, we're gonna go back to my little presentation that you probably can't see anyway. Oh, I didn't mean to close it. Now we've got all kinds of problems. All right, so jumping back in, this is the part where the receding hairline male talks about HRT and menopause with you. I know everybody's excited. So November 10th, it was last Monday. Does anybody know why that was a particularly important day for women in America? The FDA, yeah, we got claps. Okay. The FDA removed the black box warning, the black label warning off of estrogen, right? Because before, what had happened was in the early 2000s, there was this study that came out called the Women's Health Initiative Study. Does anybody recall this thing? Yeah, it basically said, ladies, if you do estrogen, you will get breast cancer. And it was very, very wrong. In the 25-ish years since then, we have done double-blind research control studies that have shown that the actual increase of breast cancer risk for taking estrogen is less than 1%. Okay, the error in their original study was that they used pretty much solely women that were 10 to sometimes 25 years postmenopausal in that study, and then it completely skewed the results. Since then, it's come out, and there's been a ton of research on it. Enough so that the FDA finally removed that warning. But the basic benefits of HRT, and oh my God, you can't see it. All right, relief from menopausal symptoms, number one, right? So if you're perimenopausal or menopausal, and you've started to notice the mood swings, the night sweats, the brain fog, which ones am I missing? Sexual dysfunction, hot flashes. I literally had a woman in my office have to pull out a fan and turn it on to her face. Now, number one, she's carrying a fan with her. Like that. I was just. People do it. It's a thing. I know, but here's the. Oh, I completely understand. I don't understand, but I do empathize. So here's the thing, though. As she was sitting in there, and this happened to her, and she had come to me for a GLP-1, I'm like, we really should talk about estrogen therapy. And she's like, nope, my daughter's a nurse and she says it'll give me cancer and I will not do it. I'm like, okay, so these are the stigmas that we face every day around this stuff, even though it's been 25 years-ish since that study came out and there's nothing but research contrary to it. Okay, some of the other things, short and long-term brain health and cognition. I mean short and long-term. So obviously the brain foggy stuff, restoring estrogen levels definitely makes an impact on that. But in terms of long-term cognitive health, the research shows that the earlier you start estrogen therapy, the better your brain function maintains throughout your life. Skin and hair health, obviously, if you don't know estrogen, what makes skin, hair, and nail health kind of happen in both men and women. Enhanced sexual function, increased bone density across the span of your life, and improved long-term cardiovascular health outcomes. Okay, so there does reach a point in your life where if you're working with a provider who understands estrogen and menopause such that there does come a point where the return on investment isn't really worth it. So you have to work with a provider who really knows what they're doing and kind of understands and has dug through this more than I would say I've got to make a decision in the 10 minutes I get to see you. Okay. You want to make sure that they are, okay, so when you go to your OB, right? Or you go to your PCP and you say, I'm having these symptoms. Normally the first thing that most providers will try and provide you is a patch, right? Some sort of estrogen patch. Some of them will even recommend the pellets to put in. Anybody done these? You don't have to raise your hand. I know it's scary. You don't want to out yourself in public. It's like, I don't give a damn. Yeah, okay. So the thing about the patches, pellets, anything that are set it and forget it solutions, set it and forget it solutions are made so that we don't have to see you, but every 6, maybe 3 months, because why? Money. That's what your insurance will let the provider see you for, right? They're not going to let them see you and bill all these hours. Medical billing in our system is all based on encounter providers. And it's like when you get on the phone with your lawyer and you talk to them for like 30 seconds to get advice about this contract, and then you get a $500 bill and you're like, what? We talked for like 2 minutes. Same thing. The medical industry is just much more regulatory. And these providers are just, it's not even their fault. Most of them would love to spend lots of time with you. They're just under this constant pressure to churn, right? So why don't more women explore HRT? Anybody? Most doctors say you're too young. Okay, that's a good one. So the thing about HRT is, and this is for men and women, okay? Men, it truly is, and we're going to talk about men a little later. Sorry, I know there's one guy's in the room like, thank God. Finally, it'll be my time. Yeah, it's a patriarchy joke, guys. Why they don't do it? So why are they too young? Men are very numbers based. So I can run men's blood work, right? And I can tell you what we can do for you, how long it's going to take. And then as we give you testosterone, I can just titrate things and make all the numbers work until you're basically optimized. It's really simple. But in a truly Mars and Venus situation, women, we get your numbers as a baseline and then we kind of throw them out the window for estrogen, I should clarify. And the reason is because every woman is different, okay? And you will have symptoms and you will have issues that have nothing to do with that number because they're unique to your body and your physiology, how you aromatize hormones. And that has to, what's that? Yep, we're going to get there too when we talk a little bit about, I didn't throw it in the presentation, but I do want to bring up the topic of women using testosterone. Y'all probably, somebody in the room might be doing it. You might know somebody. I just want to talk about it. Which of the three phases of ovulation in your cycle are you in can dramatically impact it. Okay, so for all of these reasons, number one, that's why they give you that, I don't like the patches or the pellets, because if you are not even perimenopausal, when you change one of those phases, and you can, if that coincides with an injection day and you can aromatize testosterone differently, we'll get into that, but there's some risks that go along with that. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I'm just saying you should be very aware of what those risks are and make your own informed decision. They'll say they're too young. Same thing with men, but the honest to God truth is that there's no downside to starting earlier. And the research shows that the earlier you start, if you're having these issues, the better your long-term outcomes are. What are some other reasons why women don't explore HRT? It's written off as normal. You're told that's just the way it is. You're told that you just suck it up. It's just 10, 15 years of your life. Sorry. It's just part of being a woman. Meanwhile, I can't turn on a hockey game without hearing men. Are you not manly enough anymore? Do you need your man shot with your man juice and your man drones? Come see us at man, and we'll get you manlier. Women were like, yo, slow down, Sandra. Suffer. The two reasons that we always bring up, and you hit on both of them. One is that Women's Health Initiative study. So like I talked about the patient that was in my office. It's like, I can't do that. It's going to give me cancer. The other one is you're taught to suffer through it most of the time. Okay, finally, man, we get to you, right? You've waited so patiently, scared to death right now. He's like, don't bring me into this shit. He's like, don't include me. Okay, so I just want to give you guys, because y'all undoubtedly have a man somewhere in your life. Maybe it's a partner, maybe it's a brother, a husband, a father, a son. I just want to give you some quick myths and then some actual truths about TRT. Gives you man boobs, gynecomastia. Not true. Proper lab work means that will never happen. That is a stigma from bodybuilding and men injecting way too much stuff into their bodies that isn't even meant for humans in the first place. Testosterone is something that's made naturally in us, just like estrogen and progesterone. Okay, you can never come off of it. You can absolutely come off of it whenever you want. It causes aggression or road rage. The actual truth is that regulated hormones in both men and women mean more stable moods. It will turn my husband into a sex maniac, and the truth is, you're welcome. Okay? Yeah. It's on my business card, probably. It makes you infertile, and that is untrue. Fertility protocols mean that your sperm counts will recover, your natural testosterone production will recover, especially just from regular testosterone optimization therapy. This is another holdover from men doing all kinds of things to their body that are not natural. It's only for older men. Low T can affect anyone. I have patients in their 20s. It's a different conversation for them, and there's different things that we do. But working with a qualified provider, it's absolutely okay. That it causes prostate cancer, just like estrogen causes breast cancer. No, it doesn't. It absolutely does not cause it. Here's the thing. If you have prostate cancer, it can turbocharge it. It's an androgenic steroid. That's why any provider worth their weight in marshmallows is going to run a PSA scan every time they do your blood work if you're doing this. And ladies, if you're doing testosterone, they should be running, what is it? They should be running, so I'll get into it later. But if you are taking testosterone as a man or a woman, you need to be having your hemoglobin checked at least every 6 months. And that TRT alone will give you gains in muscle and losses in fat, right? Because we've heard those same commercials. Like that guy on the, he's like, I went to whatever spa, and now like everything's going well. And I'm like, it's not how that works. Testosterone is really great, but here's what it actually does, okay? It's gonna give you more intensity during a workout. It's gonna give you better recovery time from that workout. So it's gonna allow you to train harder and train more, which will keep you in better shape. But you still have to go do it. It does enhance libido and sexual function. And for most men, it just gives them improved confidence and quality of life. All right, so some provider red flags. Free testosterone checks on site. You'll hear that. There's a couple of different models out there now that are like, we're for men who value their time. Come in, get this checked on site, and you'll be out the door with your testosterone. If you think the drive-through menu or the drive-through model of medicine is for you, go see those folks. For me, I want someone who's going to actually look at my blood work, who's going to do a thorough. So when they do this on-site test, it's called an ELISA machine, or it's what's called an immunoassay test, which basically, anybody have a pool? Yeah. No, none of you have a pool. What's that? It titrates. Yeah. Well, yeah. Mm-hmm. What I like to tell people, it's like if you're going to go check your pool water, it's the difference between like sticking a pH strip in it and going, oh, or taking a water sample to the store where they analyze it. When you do these protocols, you want to know a lot of things, and this is for men and women. We want to see, before you start any hormone therapy, we want to know where your natural levels are at, where those baselines are. We want to see where your hemoglobin is. We want to see your lipids. We want to see your A1C, your thyroid, your PSA, a whole litany of things, because once you introduce the extra generous testosterone into your system, it can have effects on different people. Because just like women, every man is different, every woman is different that's going to take this stuff, and your body's going to react differently. So if me and you, for example, we go and we take the same amount of testosterone, we both take the same prescription, we stick it up and we do it for 6 weeks, and then we go to the lab, our testosterone levels are going to be very different, just because our physiologies are different, our body composition is different things affect those, okay? When they're doing that quick in your face test and then just giving you the injection, they're not testing all of those things. Okay, they're testing a very few things, and it's a model that's meant to get you on and then get you back paying. It's not meant to really take a good medical look at like, is this for you? Okay, so make sure whoever you're working with does that. It leads into my next one, which is lab work protocols. You should be asking, and women for you that are doing testosterone too, if you are, this is a thing for you too. You need to have these labs checked. My personal preference, how I run these drug protocols is if you're new with me, I send you back to the laboratory every 6 weeks when we start. It's a party. The reason we do that is because that 6 weeks is about the time it takes for full blood saturation to occur. And we really want to get you optimized as fast as we can, right? And that means not waiting 6 months, not waiting a year. That means really getting in there and figuring out how to get you feeling your best as fast as possible. Also look around at who the staff advising you is. Missouri is one of 2 states in the entire country that doesn't have what's called corporate practice of medicine doctrine. What that means is you don't have to be a licensed physician to own a medical business, or a licensed chiropractor, or a licensed DO to own a medical business in Missouri, okay? So in most states, 48 of them in fact, I could not own the business that I have developed because I am not a licensed physician. My partner is, right? Now we're 50-50 partners, and he's an MD, and we chose that model for a reason. That's because the staff advising you in these places can vary wildly. For men, there are places where you will go and it will be a 25-year-old woman with a low-cut top offering you a Bud Select and getting you on testosterone because they're trying to make it like hair salon for men. But this isn't a haircut. It's not. So anyway, look around. Is there actual medical staff advising you? What are their bona fides? And then empty promises, like, yeah, just do this. If anybody tells you that just taking testosterone is going to make everything okay, run. Okay, so the bottom line for about hormones for both men and women is that it's replacing something that is naturally produced in your body, okay? So I want you to think about that. Everybody think, well, because the women that have been told to just suffer through it, right? Or the men that are told, well, that's cheating. Let's say you're a diabetic, a type 1 diabetic, and you go let me backtrack for just a second. So I have heard men and women, especially women, who go and they ask their providers for hormone therapy. They're like, well, have you tried the Mediterranean diet? right? Because it could reduce inflammation, balance out your hormone. Imagine if you're a diabetic and you're not making insulin and you go to your primary care physician and they're like, have you tried the Mediterranean diet? Just give me the damn insulin. It's made in my body. It's natural. It's safe. We know exactly what's going to happen with it. Just give them the insulin. I don't think it's much different. It's a quality of life decision. Okay, so my key takeaway from this whole thing this morning is that medications are fantastic accelerators, but they are not standalone solutions. Okay, so even if you're like, will they get rid of your perimenopausal symptoms if you take estrogen? Yeah. Would you be way better served by building muscle mass, having cardiovascular health, having a nutrition plan that then actually balances your hormones, helps you keep a healthy body composition, and increases your quality and span of life? Absolutely. Okay, these are things that in today's day and age, we all just want something that's just going to mean we don't have to work hard. But you ladies, you know different. You're here this morning. It's beautiful outside. You could be anywhere. You're listening to the receding hairline white guy talk about menopause. Okay, now shut up. Questions? Anybody? Start with you.
Since women's hormone levels fluctuate, how do you determine a baseline when you're determining what and how much in different periods?
So normally with women, I'm going to stick to estrogen, right? We start women with 1 gram per day. We use transdermals or creams, and the initial dosage, it's trial and error. Okay, so you're going to use that 1 gram a day for a couple of days. You're going to see how you feel, and then you're going to talk to the physician, and you're going to talk to, and it depends on who you're seeing and how they interact with you. We like to make it very concierge, right? So like it's you can, if you're paranoid about medical information and you only want to communicate through HIPAA compliant medical storage systems, we can do that. Or you can text me, or not me, but our provider. You can text them. We can email, phone call, all the things. But basically, what we do is we're just looking to get a profile on you specifically, right? And that's actually, and this is the initial profile, because this isn't like we get it and then we know how to treat you for the rest of your life. It's going to be, so are you perimenopausal? Are you premenopausal? Are you postmenopausal? Because yeah, if you're going to have those 3 phases of your ovulation, we're going to need to, there might be changes that you need to do depending on the phase that you're in, but it should be as simple as an extra half pump, less of a pump, right? It shouldn't be, I need to get a procedure to get new pellets put in, or I need to get a different strength patch. We want it to be something that you can just capriciously adjust as we do it. Does that answer your question?
Thanks, but you don't necessarily test a baseline, you test after you start using it to see.
So with women, we get the baseline, but then everything after that initially is just, it's symptomology. So we're titrating to symptoms, okay? Now, we will send you back to the lab every 6 months because we want to see how that's playing out in your body. And we also want to check some other things to make sure everything's good, right? There are going to be, if you have major changes though in your body composition, for example, let's say like you're out of shape, New Year's coming, you're like, you know what, I'm taking care of me this year. You drop 35 pounds of fat, you put on a bunch of muscle, your body, your metabolism is working completely differently. Guess what else is going to work completely different? Your hormone metabolism, or your hormone aromatization, right? So we're going to send you back. Yeah.
I have a couple of questions. 15 years postmenopausal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure I understood you. I want to make sure I heard you. When you were talking about the patch and the pellets, did you say you did not like the patch?
I think that they're great for women who have done hormone therapy in a way that they can know exactly how much estrogen and progesterone, how much estrogen their body needs. I think that if you were to just randomly put a patch on someone, what I said was it either works or it doesn't, right? For some women, it works really well because that's an appropriate amount for them. But my bigger question is like, how do you know?
Well, and that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, going down the rabbit holes.
Yeah.
And I think probably the big thing for a lot of women here is so much information, so many different avenues, and hopefully that we can all find one that works for us.
Yep.
2, testosterone. I have not gone there yet. I've been, every doctor I see, please do. I'm a little bit scared too. I'll give you a baseline. I've always been around 40 on my own. Suddenly, just now, I'm down to like 12.
Oh.
I've got a theory of why that's happened. I've not been as lifting as heavy or as much. I've been sick, but can it drop that quick by stopping strength training?
No. Not that quickly. You would have to lose it. Again, it's not just the strength training or the resistance. It's the amount of muscle mass that you're carrying long term. It would, And I don't want to speak out of pocket, right? Like I'm not the MD in my business, but I have had to watch enough of these questions get fielded. I think that something could be happening. The question is, do you need to go to a business like mine, or do you need to see an endocrinologist?
And that's
right?
a big question for a lot of us. And then,
So my advice is find a provider on both sides of that coin that you can trust to tell you the truth.
that might be easier where you're standing.
Yes, and I made a solemn promise that like I'm not going to promote my business or do sales here today. One of the reasons that we created our program is because we wanted to offer a transparent, ethical, qualitative, not a quantitative model to both men and women. So they're out there. People are out there. Don't give up. I'm sorry that it's so hard to find.
So I was told when you get the creams that you have to worry about transferring through touch.
You can.
So like if you have to switch to the creams for better control, don't you have to worry about like
Just put it.
getting it on him or
You don't want healthy hair, nail, and skin.
what they told me was that, oh, be careful, if this gets on your husband, he's going to grow boobs.
Okay, so
So I went to pellets.
yeah, they lied to you. Sorry, they lied to you. So the amount of estrogen. Do you know what your estrogen level is at right now?
Not off the top of my head, it's my phone.
Let's say, is it over or under 100? Okay.
Because I don't.
No, it's okay.
My testosterone was ridiculous, but I got pellets and then had my work done the same week. So it was like
Off the charts.
off the
Yeah.
charts.
I will say this: the amount of estradiol or estrogen that you would need to grow those man boobs is a lot. It would be tough to get that from accidentally rubbing against you. The other thing is like you put it in, but it's the time of day. Like, do you guys have a?
Because I went to pellets.
Sure. But if you weren't, there are tons of times a day where you're probably not going to be rubbing against someone. I don't know. Maybe if you're a lifeguard, this is an issue. But for most women that we've dealt with, it's really simple. Use it in a place where it's going to be covered up. Wash your hands afterwards, and that's it. Same thing for and it's the same thing for those testosterone creams, right? Which are generally prescribed for women too, because it's a lower amount. Yeah, you can rub, or men that want to use a topical testosterone, and then they have intimate relations with their significant other that night, and the next day they're like, "Why is my voice deeper?" That's why. All right, who was next? Sorry, I saw one over here. No.
Can you talk about longevity? So in GLP-1 and HRT, are these things that you're going to be taking for the rest of your life?
It's a good question. We had that question.
Is this something where you're like, okay, I'm happy where I'm at, I can just titrate off? Like, what does that look like?
Okay, so I'm going to answer that and for the GLP-1, and then I'll do it for the estrogen if I get distracted. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. The question was, with GLP-1s and with HRT, if you start taking it, are you going to be on this for the rest of your life? Or is this something that at some point you can titrate back off of? Okay. So I'm going to answer that in two phases. I'm going to start with the GLP-1s. The reason that you can't, that they say that about GLP-1s is because in that situation, remember the scenario where I said you stop doing everything or you don't? Yeah. So let's say I don't do anything, but I lose a bunch of weight. We've all seen it. It's that fleeing from a war-torn country kind of a look, right? That refugee diet. Those people that have no muscle mass and they've done nothing to change how they eat or anything to like really learn healthy habits or to educate themselves or to figure out what their body needs. They've just stopped eating. They've lost all their muscle mass. They stop taking that stuff. Here's what happens. They have no metabolism. They start eating again and it just goes, right? And every problem that they've had is now much more intense. Now I want to talk about how it works for me. So I'm a GLP-1 user. I've been using tirzepatide for years, but I don't always use it. I will come off of it and stop using it. I've titrated my dosage down to like, what's the minimal amount I need? But here's what I found out when I came off of it. Not much changed. Why? Well, because I have a nutrition plan in place. I know that I need 2,150 calories-ish a day. I know I need 200 grams of protein. I need 160 grams of carbs. And I need 45 grams of fats. How do I know that? Because I've played with it enough and I've worked with a nutrition coach enough I've worked through hunger. I've worked through what makes my body mass go up and down. I've worked through how many carbohydrates do I need to have the right amount of energy every day? how many fats do I need so that I don't have like brain cognition issues? By the way, if you cut all fat out of your diet, you will feel stupider. Things will, you'd be like, what? So like, I said hello. Oh, hi. So a goal for anyone that is an ethical practitioner of GLP-1 weight loss is going to be that you're going to come back off of it because you've gotten your body to a composition that you're happy with, and you've learned what nutrition you need to sustain that indefinitely, right? And that's going to change, right? So the other thing you have to remember is the reason GLP-1s are so powerful is because once you get past a certain point in your body composition of like, you've got this much fat and this little muscle, losing weight becomes much harder. Okay, has anybody ever noticed that in life? Like once you, like the more fat you gain, the more adipose tissue you have. First of all, the more your testosterone aromatizes into estrogen, which makes it harder for you to then build muscle. But number two, it's just the calorie restricting that you have to do for an extended period of time can just be mentally exhausting, right? It's exhausting. All those things, when food and that hunger response is so biologically embedded to drive us, right? It's hard to stay that hungry for that long. And the GLP-1s can take that away, which can be super dangerous or the best accelerator and crutch that you can find. So our goal is, I'll give you an example. I have a patient, a client. So this woman comes to us and she works out and she does nutrition coaching and she does GLP-1, right? And it came time to re-up her membership. And she said, hey, I'd really like to keep training in nutrition because my journey's not over. But this GLP-1 stuff is really expensive. And I think I want to change it. I said, that's great. I said, you know that it's not the GLP-1 that's making you lose weight. It is the training, it's the eating right, and it's the walking, because we want you to move more. I think you guys are getting enough movement in here for like 6 weeks at a time. It's good. So she started doing that. We took her, we titrated her dose back to that 2.5 milligrams and then down to 1 milligram. And now she's off of it. She is hungry a little bit because she's not to the body composition that she wants to be at yet. So she's still in a caloric deficit because she's still doing that. She's still building muscle mass at the same time, but she's off of it. For me, I am like every man. I'm a little whiny and I don't deal well with distress. So I stay on a low dose of it just because I don't like to be hungry. I still eat the same whether I'm on or off of it. I have my lunchbox. I bring my stuff every day. I got my fridge. Like I don't change how I eat. And that should be the goal. And that is the goal for any ethical practitioner providing this stuff. Now, let's talk about hormones. A couple of reasons that you might want to come off. Eventually, you will reach an age where your PCP or your OB should tell you this is getting to where like the cardiovascular benefits could start to go back down if you continue this, and you should listen to them, and you should stop taking it. At that point, you're not going to worry so much about the upsides that you're getting from it, and they'll be able to titrate you down correctly to where there's a smoother transition, right? That's for estrogen. For testosterone, I get men all the time. They're like, can I never come off? And I'm like, you can come off whenever you want. However, I don't know many people that want to. Usually if somebody wants to come off of either estrogen or testosterone, it's because it's a fertility issue. Like, okay, we're going to start to have kids, right? And I'm worried about this. It's just like women though. Like when you are, so anybody here ever taken birth control? Okay. Did you have kids at some later point in your life? Yeah. What did you have to do before you started trying to conceive? Cycle off, wait. Yeah. It's the same thing for men. So usually it's a fertility issue. With women, eventually into your 70s, it can become a thing where you're going to want to start to talk with your OB and your PCP about it. Like, what's the right time? Because I've been doing this. And hopefully, now that we've taken the black box warning off estrogen, both of your practitioners in those fields are joining the Menopause Society, and they're reading some research from leading physicians out there on what that looks like. But no, you can absolutely come off.
One more question.
Sure.
What's your take on, you have a genetic component to like a familial history? How are you going to treat that patient differently?
You mean for breast cancer?
Yeah.
I would.
Or cervical cancer or whatever
Mm-hmm.
that hormone dependent cancer is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you going to still recommend HRT with just more mammograms or whatever that may be?
Mm-hmm. I don't want to overstep, right? So this is the point in the conversation where I raise my hand and I make my partner come in and do the doctor stuff, right? Number one. Number two, but what I will tell you is that there is a rubric. We have men and women that have varied histories, right? And it's all about your tolerance for risk as a PCP or as an OB is much lower than it will be from, and I'm sorry, this is not a plug, okay? But it is much lower for them than it will be from a concierge medicine cash pay doctor, because they're not under the same pressure. Like, they can work with you. They can send you back to the lab whenever they want. They can coordinate with your other doctors. So like we had a woman who had a family history. She actually had endometriosis, and we were still able to treat her. And I can't talk about the details of why. I don't want to misrepresent myself here. All that to say, the conversation is different for different providers. And there's a lot more possible out there, I think. And what we're finding from the research is that, like, look, unless you've had a genital-related cancer, there's a lot of options, right? And even if you have a family history of it, really it just means that we need increased screening, like you said, I think for the most part. All right, in the back.
Might be an obvious answer, but I've heard this about GLP-1s. This idea of microdosing
Mm-hmm.
and people kind of, I mean, I'm aware of people who are just kind of playing with it and
Mm-hmm.
like 25, playing their own little game, and it's not even about weight loss, but they are claiming the incredible benefits of inflammation, blah blah blah.
Mm.
What's the scoop on that?
So it's actually real. We've talked about that in the. My wife's going to cringe as I say this. We've talked, because she's an anesthesiologist assistant. She's an actual real medical person. So when I say in the medical field, we've talked about this, she's like, you can just feel the hole kind of open up in her stomach and see the wind blow through it. And she's like, you son of a. Okay, so we have been seeing research, and we've been seeing some simple white papers come out that talk about that, right? I actually know a lot of people in the medical field that are like, yep, I've been microdosing semaglutide or tirzepatide because it has helped my inflammation. Or, okay, that's all been kind of hearsay. There was actually an article posted last week, and I can't remember in which journal it was. My partner sent it to me literally 2 days ago that talked about the long-term, there's current research going on the long-term impacts of GLP-1s on both cancer and inflammatory diseases. Okay, and now they're actually putting a bunch of money behind double-blind research control studies to demonstrate that that's a fact and not like a, hey, we're seeing this. So more research is needed, but it's all trending towards, yep, no, it actually does do that. Now, that's for those symptoms, right? Now you will also see OBs or PCPs. You'll see doctors prescribe. I've seen semaglutide prescribed to treat PCOS, for example. Okay, but it's not. I'm going to say two things on this. Number one, I had a woman come to me and say, well, how would you treat PCOS? And I said, we wouldn't. We would tell you to go back to your OB. Okay, we do hormones here. Like, that's not what we're doing. We do weight loss medicine here. You have PCOS. You need to see a professional that does that. Now, I also know someone who had PCOS and they used semaglutide, and not because it was an anti-inflammatory, but because they lost a bunch of weight and then their hormones got much more regular, and then the cysts went away, right? So it's not causational, but it can be correlational in that realm. But under the original anti-inflammatory and microdosing, yeah, that's going to be bigger and bigger. Anybody else? Ooh, have I gotten through all of them? One more.
So I'm on the pad.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
It's okay. I forgive you.
Along with that, progesterone.
Uh-huh.
So you haven't said anything about progesterone.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just curious, like,
Why am I taking it? Okay, because you have a uterus, right? Because you have a uterus. So increased estradiol can increase risk for cancer in your uterine lining. So that's why the progesterone protects it. All right, there's two ways that you can get that progesterone. I'm guessing you're taking like a capsule at night. Okay, so there's only two ways to get progesterone, really. It's capsules at night or secreting IUDs, right? The secreting IUDs we would suggest you go back to your OB and ask for one if you had a history of breast cancer or any other type of cancer, because progesterone going through your body actually does increase that risk just a little bit. And while it is mitigatable, is that a real word? Probably. Let's go with it. In cases where we're looking to just reduce that risk as much as possible, that might be an option. But for almost all women that have not had a hysterectomy, progesterone capsules at night. It helps you sleep. It protects your uterine lining. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. That's it. I know. I'm about to start taking it myself at night. You do not. Now, you can, and there has been some research. This is a provider thing. Okay, so again, I'm not going to step out of my realm, but we have. I know we do have one patient who has endometriosis. They do not have a uterus, but we gave them some low dose progesterone to try and treat some of those symptoms along with it, and it did help. But
So I have endometriosis.
okay.
And the progesterone, like none of those symptoms happen. So I had to go straight from the pill to this without a gap because of endometriosis. Like the pain is debilitating if you don't have something that you're taking. And the progesterone, like it solves it. Like I don't have any symptoms.
That's awesome. I'm really happy to hear that. And I'm glad that patch is working for you, by the way. It's like I said, it works or it doesn't. Yeah. So the issue with the patches is it's generally a low dose of estradiol. Okay. The reason that they're doing that is because your doctor doesn't want to give you too much and overshoot, right? Because then that can create other issues. So they give you this low dose patch. Now, if that works, that's awesome. If it doesn't, you got to wait like 3 to 6 months before you can go get a change made. That kind of sucks, right? Doesn't mean that it won't work. Doesn't mean you can't get there. It's just a slower process. Okay. Anybody else?
About compounding the estrogen.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a confusing thing to me. You know, I worry about like who's compounding it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's right.
So are we talking about? Yeah, sorry. The question was, what about compounding, particularly with estrogen? I'm concerned about what's being compounded and who is compounding it. And I want to clarify the question. Are we talking about what they're compounding it with, or are you talking about like how it's being produced in the facility?
Both.
Okay.
Both, because in my situation, what was happening is I had a lot of cookies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when we tried messing with that with progesterone, that didn't really work. And, oh, well, let's go to compounding. I'm like, this stuff doesn't even smell, you know. So and it's particular about what I put in my body, but how do you know you want to feel good, but you we're just I'm trusting so many providers that I know nothing about.
Yeah.
Welcome to healthcare.
Are you in healthcare? Yeah. Man, I really wish. So having worked with a physician for the last like 16 months or so, and then for some reason people say, well, I am disillusioned at the amount of art that it is rather than science at times, right? So it is that, right? Every woman is different. So you are going to have to experiment and figure out what works with you. So I will say on what they're compounding it with should generally have something to do with specific symptoms or allergies or reactions or needs that you have, or it should be a customized compound that the doctor is using because they have found more success with patients using that compounded version than they have with a regular version, right? So we in particular, we use a thing called blestrogen. So it's a compound mix of 2 different things, and I'm not going to try and butcher it, but yeah. Now, on to the facilities question. If any compounding pharmacy to operate legally in the United States. So if you're buying your drugs on the internet from some website, okay, most likely what you're getting is being made in a Chinese bathtub. I don't care which Facebook group you bought it from. That's why it's so cheap, and that's why you can get it in the mail, and why it might say Shengzhui on it. I can't speak to those facilities. I can say that if you are buying it from a FDA certified compounding facility in the United States, which to have a medical clinic and do it legally here we do, all of those facilities are required to go through the same inspections as any other commercial provider, and they are required to use ingredients from it's called the 501 AB bulk list, or the FDA bulk list. There's an acronym for it that begins with an A, and I can't remember it right now. But basically, there is a list of approved ingredients and approved suppliers of those ingredients, and they have to buy those ingredients from those suppliers because it's the only way we can maintain control. So it's just as safe. You're just taking acetaminophen instead of Tylenol. They're probably made in the same factory. They just get a different label. There was one more. Hi.
So I have a really big medical fear, just like
taking pills, getting shots, going to the doctor, even talking about going to the doctor makes my heart rate spike up. I know my hormones are out of whack after being on birth control for like 15 years, having a baby. Where should I start without having to like book here, do this lab, do that lab, because like I can't do that.
Okay.
What's like the basic? I can go to this person and this person will do this. Or like, what should I do first?
It's a tough question. If everybody didn't hear it, I've got some medical phobias. I do not enjoy going to doctors. I don't want to go see 100 providers. I don't want to get a bunch of lab tests and then book all these consultations. Man, that's a tough question.
Yeah.
There you go. Talk to some women you trust.
Are you trusting of your OB? You see them annually?
I don't have one. So I just moved here recently, so I haven't done any of that. Because I keep putting it off. Because I'm so scared.
May I?
Yeah.
May I? I think you're about to get Mama Bared the hell out.
That's okay. I triggered me to go get physical, and I did, but I just need like that.
I got you. Yeah.
If only you had a group of strong, educated, motivated women around you that could advise you on where to go. But please ask the man with the receding hairline up here. I'm sure he's got a good idea or two. All right, anybody else? All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time and attention this morning. If we can ever be a resource to you for anything about hormones, GLP-1, peptides, whatever, you just reach out. No sales, no nothing, no promotions. Just happy to be a resource. You want to run something by us? Hey, I heard this. Give me a call. I left some cards on the table. Thank you for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.